He saved a woman from the river and lost his daughter because of it. Rain, lightning. A woman stands at a flooding river's edge, water rising like a living thing, swallowing the embankment. She holds a foreclosure notice in trembling hands. Headlights cut through the darkness. A car pulls over. A man, early 40s, wearing a hospital ID badge, gets out, runs toward her through the storm. "Don't," she says. "Please don't." He stops running. "I'm pulling you back," he says. "If you do, I lose my daughter anyway. At least this way, the insurance—" He stands in the rain and does the math on a human life. For 3 seconds, he calculates. Saving her costs me my job. My job is how I keep my daughter alive. Then he jumps. The water hits like a wall, cold beyond cold. He drags her toward the bank, muscles screaming, lungs burning. They break the surface, gasping. He pulls her onto the muddy shore and they collapse, both drowning in air. The woman is sobbing, not from the cold, from something worse. "Why?" she chokes. "Why would you—" "Because someone should have," he says. Neither of them knows yet that this moment will destroy both their lives and save them. Marcus Webb sits in the hospital waiting room in soaked clothes. His phone rings. Unknown number. He knows what's coming before he answers. "Dr. Webb, this is Dr. Patterson from hospital administration. We've received a report of a staff member engaging in reckless behavior during off hours that endangered hospital liability. We need to conduct an investigation. I saved someone's life. You violated protocol. You were not on duty. You did not call emergency services. You exposed yourself in the hospital to—" Marcus hangs up. He knows how this ends. He's seen it before. You break the rules even for the right reason, and the institution finds a way to break you. The woman is awake. Her name is Diane. She's a postal worker. She's 48 years old, and she's watching her daughter, Emma, 18, full scholarship to college, cry in the corner because her mother tried to die. A nurse brings Marcus to her room. "You lost your job?" Diane says. It's not a question. "Investigation ongoing. But yeah, they're building the case." Diane stares at him. "You have a daughter?" "Yes." "How old?" 10. Diane's face crumples. Oh God, what did you do?" "What I had to." "No," Diane says. "You did what I chose, and now your daughter pays for my choice." Emma looks up. She's been listening. She's 10 years old in a legal sense, but she understands economics. Her mother nearly died, and now a child has lost her father's paycheck because of it. "I'm sorry," Diane whispers. Marcus doesn't say anything, because she's right. He did the math wrong. He thought he was saving her. What he actually did was sacrifice his family on an altar of principle. The investigation concludes. Marcus violated protocol, endangered hospital liability, acted outside his scope of practice. He's fired. But that's not the story that goes viral. The story is, ER doctor throws away career to save suicidal stranger. And then, the counter story, ER doctor sacrifices daughter's future for philosophy. Diane sees it on Reddit, on TikTok, on her local news station. One side calls him a hero. The other side calls him a fool. His ex-wife calls him with their daughter on the line. Jamie is crying because her friends saw the videos. They're calling her the doctor's sad daughter. The kid whose father abandoned her for a stranger. "I didn't abandon." "You did," his ex-wife says. "I know your intentions. It doesn't matter. You made a choice, and it was never about good intentions. It was about proving something to yourself." Marcus has no response because she's right. Diane receives a settlement letter from the hospital's legal team. Compensation for Marcus's violation of protocol. Money they don't want her to have because it was the hospital's liability, not hers. The letter asks her to sign an NDA. She burns it. Then she records a video. "My name is Diane. I tried to die. A doctor stopped me. And now everyone's fighting about whether he's a hero or a villain. But nobody's asking me what I think." She's sitting in a chair, pale, exhausted. I think he saved my life when he had no obligation to, and I think it cost him everything, and I think that's my fault, and I don't know how to live with that. The video gets 2-3 million views in 48 hours. The comments are brutal. She should pay his legal fees. She should get a job and repay him. He's a martyr, and she's a victim, and this is America. Diane reads them and wants to die again, because now she's responsible for destroying a man's life, and the internet is her jury, and she will never be innocent. Marcus sees the video. He watches his daughter's face when people ask her about it at school. He realizes that what he thought was a moral choice was actually a moral disaster, not because saving Diane was wrong, but because he had no right to make that choice for Jamie. He texts Diane, "Don't do this, don't apologize for surviving." She doesn't respond. Marcus is working at an urgent care clinic. The pay is half what he made. His apartment is smaller. Jamie lives with her mother full-time now. He gets her on weekends, and she doesn't want to be there. He's drowning, just slower. Diane is in therapy, real therapy, not hospital-mandated. She's learning that trying to die was about control, the only control she had left when everything was taken. But saving her took control from Marcus, so she just transferred her damage to someone else. She writes a letter to Marcus, not an apology, an acknowledgement. "I didn't ask you to save me, but I also didn't stop you. I let you make a choice that wasn't yours to make, and now we're both underwater, just in different ways. My daughter says I should tell you this. Sometimes the people who try to save you don't realize they're actually drowning themselves, and sometimes you have to let them drown a little bit so they can remember how to swim. Emma is right. She got it from her mother, the habit of drowning people. I'm sorry. And I'm working on being less sorry and more honest about what I actually did." Diane Marcus reads it and cries, not because he forgives her, because he realizes he never blamed her. He blamed himself, and he's been making her pay for his own guilt. The moment of clarity. Marcus is at the weekend park with Jamie. She's 11 now, tall, angry, pulling away from him. He can feel her slipping. "I hate that video," she says. "Everyone at school talks about it. They say you're a hero. But heroes don't lose custody. Heroes don't miss soccer. You're right. And they say I should be grateful that you're so moral. But I'm not grateful. I'm angry." Marcus sits down on the bench. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't explain. He just listens. "Mom says you chose a stranger over me. Your mom is right." Jamie stares at him. "Then why? Why would you do that?" Marcus thinks about the river, about Diane standing at the edge, about the moment he understood that she wanted to disappear because everything had failed her, her marriage, her job, her security. Everything that was supposed to matter didn't matter, and he couldn't bear it. "Because I was scared," Marcus says, "not of her dying, of what it meant that she wanted to." What did it mean? It meant that I wasn't enough. My job wasn't enough. My life wasn't enough. So I tried to prove that I was more than that I could be the person who saves instead of the person who fails. Jamie is quiet. "But I failed anyway," Marcus continues. "And I failed you worse." "Yeah," Jamie says. "You did." They sit in silence, not healing, not forgiveness, just honesty. "Can I ask you something?" Jamie says. "Anything. Do you regret saving her?" Marcus doesn't answer right away. "No," he finally says. "I regret how I did it. I regret making it about me, but I don't regret that she's alive. Even though it cost you me, especially because it cost me you. That's the part that matters." Jamie's eyes fill with tears. "That's not fair." "No," Marcus agrees. "It's not, and I'm sorry." Diane gets hired at a crisis center. It pays less than the post office. But she works with suicidal people. She's trained to recognize the specific exhaustion that comes before the edge. Emma comes home from college and volunteers with her. They're not healed, but they're working on something that feels like purpose. Diane hasn't contacted Marcus. She respects the boundary. She destroyed enough of his life already. But one day, a woman comes into the crisis center. She's an ER nurse. She tells Diane that Dr. Marcus Webb has been mentoring their young residents about burnout, about recognizing drowning in yourself, about asking for help before you stand at a river's edge. He talks about a patient he saved, the nurse says. He says it cost him everything, and it was worth it. But also, that's not how it should work. The system shouldn't make you choose between your morality and your daughter. Diane realizes that Marcus didn't waste his sacrifice. He transformed it. He's teaching other people to save themselves before they have to save others. Marcus and Jamie. Marcus is coaching Jamie's soccer team now. Her mother agreed to the arrangement. Jamie is 12, angry at the world, but she plays with a ferocity that comes from understanding. Sometimes people you love hurt you, and you have to choose whether to stay in the game. She stays in the game. After practice, she asks her father, "Did you ever hear from her? The woman from the river?" "No," Marcus says. "And I think that's how it should be." Why? Because saving someone doesn't mean you get to be part of their life. It just means you were brave enough to act, and then you have to accept the consequences. Jamie nods like she understands. Maybe she does. 3 months later, Diane's crisis center gets a call. It's a new donor, Major Grant. Enough to hire 2 more counselors. The donor is anonymous, but Diane traces the LLC and finds a name, Marcus Webb. She calls him. "You didn't have to do that," she says. "I know. You gave up everything for me already." "I gave up the life I was trying to prove I deserved," Marcus says. "This is different. This is building something that actually helps people." "Marcus," "No," he interrupts. "Not for you. Not even for your daughter. For the 10 people you're going to save this year who might have ended up at that river. That's why." Diane is crying, but Marcus isn't trying to comfort her. He's just stating facts. "How's Jamie?" Diane asks. "Better. She's angry, which is healthy. She knows I chose wrong, but she also knows I'm trying to do better." "And you don't resent me for that?" "Every day," Marcus says, "and I'm working on it. My therapist says that's honest. That's better than pretending." "I'm sorry," Diane says, "for maybe the 100th time." "I know," Marcus says. "I'm accepting that now." The documentary. A filmmaker has been following this story since the viral video. It's not a redemption arc. It's not a feel-good story. It's an investigation of what happens when one moral choice creates a cascade of moral consequences. The documentary opens with the river scene. Rain. Lightning. The question. It ends with Marcus teaching a class of young doctors. Not about heroism. About boundaries. About the difference between saving and sacrificing. About the cost of being noble. "The woman I pulled out of that river," Marcus says to his students, "she's alive. That matters. But my daughter doesn't have her father's full attention anymore. That also matters. Both things are true." The camera cuts to Diane. She's speaking at a mental health conference. "I asked him why," Diane says. "And he said, because someone should have. He meant for his wife. She died 3 years before he met me, and he was still drowning from it. So when I stood at that river, he didn't save me. He saved the version of himself that couldn't save her." The documentary doesn't conclude. It just stops, because real life doesn't have conclusions. It has moments where you understand what happened, and then you keep living. Marcus is at the cemetery. It's the first time he's been there in 6 years. He sits on the grass beside a headstone. Maya Webb, 1985-2018. Loved deeply, missed always. "I met someone," he says. Not a prayer, just words into the earth. "Not in the way you'd be worried about, but I met someone who reminded me that drowning takes many forms. And sometimes you have to jump in even if you don't know how to swim, just to prove you're not afraid of the water anymore." He pauses. "I'm learning not to be afraid, and I'm learning that saving people is complicated. It's not the movies. It's messy and it hurts people, and sometimes the person you save is actually drowning you." The wind moves through the trees, but I'm still glad I stopped that night. Even though it cost me Jamie for a while, even though it cost me my career. Because there's a 10-year-old somewhere right now who's going to call a crisis line instead of a river because Diane is there to answer. That matters. He stands up and walks away. He doesn't look back.